Hey, this is Ramon Ray, founder of Smart Hustle Media at smarthustle.com. Thanks for joining me for another exciting interview with another exciting, I think at least, entrepreneur, small business owner who I've met through a mutual networking group we're in, and I'm sure Nancy's in dozens of them, but one is, I always want to give a shout out to Adrian Miller. So on this, Adrian Miller of Adrian's Network, adriansnetwork.com. So on this discussion, you're going to learn a few things. Nancy has a limousine company. As you know, all of us have gone through some ups and downs with COVID, talking about how she's evolved, pivoted to doing something else. Nancy's also very involved in her community. So we're going to unpack this and see what we can learn for your small business. Nancy Vargas, thanks for joining us and welcome to the Smart Hustle podcast and discussion and article. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you, Ray. This is really wonderful. Thank you so very much for the invitation. I greatly appreciate being here, and I think we're going to have a great discussion today.
Absolutely. So we started out, and I just want to start right at the top of that. I know it seems what's very important to you. You possibly do this with family or others, but as far as I'm interviewing you today, but it's community. And I know we've mentioned Rotary Club. Just talk about not necessarily Rotary Club, which actually, why don't you, for those who like me were wondering, what is this? But service, community. Is this part that you do for business? Is it to get leads? Is it just because you're bored? Just give us a little bit of understanding of why community is important, why you serve the homeless, serve kids. When we were talking before I was recording, you seem generally excited about that. So feel free to talk about that a bit.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love being part of the JFK Rotary Club. I think community is important. I think of course our businesses are important, but being part of a community is just as important. And so to be able to be part of Rotary really has changed my life, has allowed me to see the world in a totally different perspective, and for me, and this is just for me, I just feel that if in some way I can touch or change someone's life, even if it's just one person, you know what, there was a purpose and a reason. And, I'm part of JFK Rotary. I'm also part of the Kiwanis Club at LaGuardia. I do also, love to be part of a committee for it's a School Sisters of Notre Dame educational center right here in Queens. The sole purpose of the organization is to provide free education, free tuition for women in our community in Queens that are looking to learn English as a second language. So funny story is that my father is Ecuadorian. He's an immigrant man that came from Ecuador, zero English. My mom, who's Puerto Rican, zero English, even though she's an American. So hence I grew up in a household where we only spoke Spanish. So when I went to school, I learned English as a second language, and I knew how difficult it was.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
Second language.
Exactly, because I came from a Hispanic Latino household, my parents only spoke Spanish. And so I kind of gravitated to this center because they're offering this service to women who are moms and wives. And their purpose is that they can understand the language. They can help their children with their reading and their writing and their social studies and their science. So the fact that, they're able to go to this center and learn English as a second language, and the way they progress and blossom because of it is a beautiful thing. And then for the younger ladies, that perhaps something happened in their lives and they didn't finish high school, they can also get free education for their GED. So I'm very proud of this organization. I'm proud to be a part of their committee and, help them fundraise and help them in, career day. I've been part of their panel and also spoken about my journey and that it's relatable. It's relatable, which is awesome.
No, I love that. And I think two things I'll just add to that. I think one is language. And we happen to be in America, which is dominated largely, not all, the Spanish is a big part of it, but English speaking. And so my point is, because if we were in Russia, be the same thing, just Russia, wherever we are. But in America, it is limiting. When you don't have it, you can be, I'll use the word disability. Some people may not like that, but if you don't see, if you can't hear, you're a paraplegic. But not knowing the language of where you're at. I have friends, and I'm sure you have friends similar to you, many happen to be Hispanic, don't know English, it's limiting the jobs they can get, where they can go, someone ripping them off for car repair, just shopping in the store. Where's the milk?
Yeah.
¿Dónde está leche? I think maybe.
Right.
So,
Well, to your point, Ray,
yeah.
it's quite interesting that you say that because I have a dear friend. Her name is Yvette Osorio. She's in one of our actually networking groups, and the sole reason why she became an attorney was exactly that. She didn't want her father, mother, cousin, brother, sister, like she didn't want her family to be taken advantage of because they didn't understand the language.
Yeah.
And I love her story because of it, because it just resonates. And she said, you know what? I wanted to be the one that can not only help my family, but help my community understand the documents that are being placed in front of them, you know, for big purchase of their home or they're opening up a business and there's a contract, an agreement. She can help with that. And I thought, wow, that is really powerful and paying it forward.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I wanted to talk about, we'll touch on business here in a bit, but this conversation is going in ways I didn't expect it, but I just will touch on as well. And I will just, for those who don't know, so I'm a fake Hispanic. I say that tongue in cheek. I'm Hispanic in no way, shape, or form. I'm just a regular Black guy, totally Black American. A point I say that because in the Black experience, Nancy, as you may know, you may get a hint of,
Yeah.
even though we are native English speaking, it boils down to education.
Sure.
If you're not educated to some level, you can probably say this better than me, but what I'm trying to say is imagine a kid who happens to be Black, who's grown up in the projects. He or she doesn't know the language also of business, of interest rate, of money, of how do they go for you for a job. If you get what I'm saying, meaning so language has many nuances. It could be Hispanic, not just knowing English.
Right.
It could be a Black kid or Black mother who just didn't have the training to know how to fill out a form, a banking statement, how to rebut a ticket. Does it make sense where I'm trying to get at language?
And it's really the resources.
Yeah.
Right. It's the resources. And sometimes, yes, it has to do with your background and that does have to do with your upbringing as well. You know, but I think that here in New York City, you know, I'm very proud that we do have a lot of resources, like the Educational Center for Women. And I think I always say this to Sister Catherine, you know, who's the director of the facility. I always thought, like, I wish more people would know that we're here. I wish that more people would know, like, all the good that happens right here at this center, because it's amazing to me to see these women, how they progress, how they blossom, how they're able to put sentences together, how they're able to present when we have our events and talk about their journey. You know, and it just, you know, really is all this good work that we need to hear more of. And I think today, now more than ever, right? I think people do want to do more good. You know, they have more time. So
absolutely. And doing good, listen, I must say, just one other thing that will move to the business side of it in your journey, but I think also doing good, it feels like you and I are simpatico with that, is that for me, a lot of most of the good I do, some is not altruistic, but 99% of it, you just feel good. It's like taking a shower. There's nothing, you don't even talk about smart hustle. I'm gonna hand up my cards, as you talked about, whether it's Christmas or feeding. So I just want to echo that for those who are new to it, especially if you're younger, maybe, not always for a buck. It's just, I'm going to volunteer and read to these 3 kids and I'm going home. They don't know I'm Nancy Vargas with DH2. They just know I'm a lady who comes here and helps them.
That's right. That's right. And that really does, you know, make you feel good.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good because you feel like there's a purpose beyond business, beyond dollars and cents. Yes, that's important. That's business, right? But there's a component to what you were saying earlier, community.
Yes.
You know, it's knowing who your neighbors are, is, you know, knowing that you're changing or touching or inspiring or motivating or empowering another person. And sometimes, many times, it's not because you're handing out a check or a dollar. It's because you said something that moved them and touched them. And you know what? That is powerful too.
No, Nancy, that's powerful. You and I could, you know, we should just form a company. We'll do something. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll just leave our businesses and somehow find a way to get paid.
Yes, as long as I can call you Rey.
Sí, Rey, no problema, señorita. Todo está bien. So listen, as I told y'all listening, people getting a trip hearing this podcast or video, I'm not Spanish. I know I'm going to get a flood of email. Ramon, you said you weren't Spanish. I can just pretend I am. Trust me on that. Hola, señorita, ¿cómo está? Me llamo Ramon de Aurelio. Okay, back to the interview.
Right.
Listen, Nancy, tell us about, so your company, tell us about a little bit about your journey, but I think one of your first businesses, and I know you credit you and your husband a lot, so I give credit to him as well, because I know you bring him into the conversation. DH2, it's a limousine company. Why don't you feel free to give us the backstory to that, how it started, what were you doing before? Let's focus on that, and then feel free to merge us to the new company, why you did it. Paint that story
Excellent.
for us.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share this, with your audience.
Sure.
And basically, my husband is the founder of our company.
Okay.
I think as many operators, when they started their companies many years ago, it was a town car and a dream. Really, that's what it was. We opened our business May of 1995.
Mhm.
And my husband always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I knew that early on when I married him. We were newlyweds at the time. And, he shared with me his desire to open up, his company. And truth be told, I just wanted to be the supportive wife,
Mm.
never thinking that I would be part of the business
Mhm.
in any way, shape, or form. I was in it as a supportive wife.
Yep.
I had a career of my own and thought that that's where I would retire. However, time went on and we became parents. And when I became a mom, I just fell in love with that role.
Yes.
And, just couldn't see myself going back at that moment. Thought that I would just put that on pause in terms of my career and just wanted to be, home front and
Mhm.
center for our daughter.
Sure.
But these children, they grow up way too fast.
They do.
They do. And so next thing you know it, at a blink of an eye, our daughter Emily was ready to go to school and I was ready to go back into the workforce.
Mhm.
And my husband says, Nancy, can you help me with a few things that I need?
Just a
You're
few,
so
just
good
one or
about
two things.
one
Just
or
one.
two things, little. So I was naive at the time, and I thought it was a project that I
Of
was going
course.
to work on, get done with it, and move on. So 14 years later, here I am. The project has not ended. The project has just started,
Yes.
and we started off in corporate with this town car. We did a lot of corporate events, airport rides, road shows at the
Mhm.
time were big in the 90s. And then 9/11 hit the clock.
Yeah. Mhm.
And, I believe back then we pivoted, even though I thought we were diversifying and we were doing all these things. No, we were pivoting
Mm.
to the social space, weddings, events,
Yes.
quinceañeras, sweet 16s, night outs, Atlantic cities. And so we started procuring stretch limousines, party buses, H2 Hummers,
Mm.
Cadillac Escalades, you name it, we had it in our fleet. And so we were in sort of that space for about 2 decades. And it was a wonderful journey. Mike was the limo guy of Queens that everyone loves.
Nice.
And I was, behind the scenes. I really wasn't, in front of the scenes in any way, shape, or form. I was sort of like the lady in the office that just
Sure.
kind of kept it together. And 5 years ago, if I fast forward to 5 years ago, I said to my husband, Mike, I feel that we've been in this one niche of
Mm.
social weddings and events, and there's so many other opportunities that we haven't explored.
Right.
There's all other, doors that we haven't opened. Why don't we look into these other areas? And of course, he thought, oh my God, like, why do you want to rock the boat? Like, this is what puts our rice and beans on the
Yes.
table, girl. Like, what are you talking about? But once he truly understood the vision, when he saw that I put a business plan together,
Mm.
that I worked on projections, that I really gave him a clear
Yes.
understanding of where I wanted to move the business to. And it took us about a year. It also took two separate conversations. It was a business partner conversation, bringing these new ideas to the table. And then it was a husband and wife
So
conversation.
let me
Well, what
guess.
does
The
this mean?
first one, you guys were in a bland corporate office, and you were just Nancy, and he was Peter,
Mike,
Mike.
Mike.
So just talking. And the second one, he took you out to dinner. Y'all were holding hands, and you're like, you know what? Before we move on, honey, just thought about, what do you think about diversifying? And then the music stopped. Something like
Right.
that. I'm
Something something like that. So that maybe there was a glass of wine too. I don't know. Maybe. But no, yeah, no, absolutely. To your point, two totally different ways of how that conversation
Sure,
went
sure.
down. But the good news is, it took us about a year to really see eye to eye, for him to truly understand and grasp, what this new concept was. How were we going to diversify? What did this mean in terms of our operation, vehicles that we needed to procure, business that we needed to go after? And so once he was on board, what I totally didn't expect was that he said, Nancy, you have been the supportive wife throughout my journey, or our journey. Now I want to be the supportive husband. So with that, if we move forward, I want you to become our new CEO. I want you to lead the company. I have led the company until this day. I want you to take it forward. I see your vision. I trust your vision, and we're going to go full force. And I will be your backbone as your chief operating officer to ensure that the contracts and the work that you bring to the table, we're going to make that happen. And that was not part of the business plan. I was not intending that in any way, shape, or form. It happened that way organically. And it's been a great journey since then. Really, he's my number one fan. I have his support.
Yeah.
I can go out there with 100% confidence that any contracts, any business, anything that I bring to DH2, I have his back. He has my back. We have each other's back.
I got you. Let me I just want to unpack this, Nancy, for a minute, what I'm hearing, as best as I can. I think it's profound.
Yeah.
Your husband and wife, already partners in life, share everything, blah, blah, blah. Metaphorically, how it is, all relationships are different, but husband and wife. It's already y'all business.
Yeah.
Whichever way, shape, or form, y'all together. So you already are the CEO, as it were. He is, you get what I'm saying. That's the husband and wife. What I'm hearing is that, on stage one, it's the husband, the dude, the guy, and his wife is helping him. She's like, whatever you need me to do. He's in charge. He holds the reins. Maybe ask your opinion. Maybe you get some feedback. You guys are laying in bed or having dinner or something. Hey, maybe you shouldn't hire this person, or I noticed this, and you're moving along. So that's what I'm hearing, one phase, and you're doing what you do. Maybe you're bringing in sales or not. But then I'm hearing the flip happens where he's like, let's formalize this. And I'm just going to, in essence, work for you. Or I'm going to operate it. I'm going to drive the business day to day, meaning operationally. But Nancy, instead of you giving me advice at soccer practice, instead of us, having breakfast together and you just sharing it, you lead the company.
Right.
And you just say, hey, honey, we got 3 sales today. I need you to do whatever you're going to do on that end. Right. That's what I'm hearing, which is amazing. And it's humble for him.
Thank you.
Trusting you trusting in him that he'll get it done. So I just have to shout out, what a story.
Thank you. Well, no, thank you. And it really, again, it just happened in such an organic way. And then, so since my leadership, we became MWBE certified, which is the Minority Women Business Enterprise, with the City of New York, the State of New York, the Port Authority, and recently in 2019 with Nassau County.
Nice.
So those were great opportunities, which, I was looking to open up the opportunity of government contracting. I'm big about contracting work because I can procure my vehicles in that way. I can hire staff knowing that we have X contract, X hours. I feel like we can really manage that in all the decisions that we need to make. Then I started these different niche, the government contracting aspect of it, of course, our airport corporate rides. We, through my Port Authority MWBE certification, we were awarded a contract with Delta Airlines, which was probably our biggest account at the time. And that was a great experience. Then we landed on an FDNY contract with our New York City. We were able to work with CUNY universities, because of my state, certification. And again, this doesn't all fall in your lap. I've had to hustle.
And let me underline that to clarify that to people. First of all, Nancy, remind me never to get in a fight with you. Never. Like if I'm going to a fight and I see Nancy Vargas on the boxing thing, I'm just going to walk away and say, dude, I didn't know it was Nancy. No, I'll fight somebody else. But
oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. But 2 things I'm hearing, because I want to underline this to people. 1, to get certified can take ages. The
Yes.
details are not relevant to this conversation, but
Yes.
paperwork details, all
Yes.
whatever kind of mess that you have to go through. If you want to share a little bit, you can, but it
Oh,
takes a long
sure.
time. And then
Sure.
two,
Yeah.
to get the contract, as you said, you already said it, but that takes hustle. There's
It
50,000 people competing for this. So this
Absolutely.
is
You
powerful.
gotta grind, you gotta grind, you gotta go out there, you've got to put your brand out there.
Yeah.
So a lesson learned on that journey
Please.
in our business was truly the fact that it's not just about spending the time to get all the documentation together, is learning about the resources that we have, right? That someone can hold your hand while you're going through this process. Number two, you need to advocate for yourself, right? No one's going to do that better than you.
Yeah.
So I would attend every MWBE procurement event, every single one, where every city agency, I think in New York City, knew Nancy Vargas because they saw me every single
Wow.
time. So I think that, you do need to, you do need to advocate for yourself. Now, for us, and what might be different for others, and you have to figure out as a business owner how it works for you. For us, I had the ability to not have to worry about who's going to answer the phone calls, who's going to enter the reservation, who's going to execute, who's going to dispatch, that was taken care of, right? Because Mike was handling operations with our team.
Mhm.
So that gave me the ability to have a whole schedule to go out there and hustle.
Yeah.
And so it also, you have to also network. And now more than ever during this pandemic, just when I thought I couldn't network anymore pre-pandemic, oh my Lord, it's times 10.
Yeah, no, for
So
sure.
it's
No,
so
this is,
important. Yeah.
and hey, which leads to this call. I think we met inside AZNet, correct? Do we know each
Yes,
other
we did.
before?
We
Yeah,
did.
so
There
you
you
just
go.
never know. And again, I think people, some people, does networking work? I didn't get a referral lead. Listen, there's 1,000 different ways to network, but I think part of this is networking as well. You just never know unless you try.
And you know what? Here's what another lesson. We're
Please.
sharing some lessons today.
That's what we want.
But the one lesson is you go into networking, not really thinking about what you're going to get out of it, but what you bring into that networking. And I think that business will just flow just because it will. But I do not go into any type of networking platform with the mindset of who am I fishing that's going to become my new client.
Right.
It's what can I do? What referrals can I do for you? How can I help you? Everything else, it'll come to you.
Yeah, and I'm working on this course with Seth Godin, Nancy, Small Business Essentials. And one thing that comes to mind, one of the modules is about trust. And I say that because one thing that Seth Godin does very well is that sometimes we get into the tactics, like we talk about networking and showing up, which is good, nothing bad you said. But Seth would say it's trust building. Because I think that what I've learned from Seth is that he gets deep into the why. And so I want to underline to people, what is networking? What is showing up? What is Nancy there? Again, with the same stale cup of coffee, eating the same stale bagels at the government center. It's the dude or the lady for the fifth time who's seen Nancy, trust index is going up. He has 3 people to choose. And Nancy was there again. So I don't know if that makes sense what I'm trying to say, but that's to me part of networking, maybe serendipitously. Here's my business card. Who are you? That could happen. But I think to your point, my gut tells me most is the third, the fourth, the 7th time I saw Nancy. You know what? What's that DH2? No, 2. Let me look at the name. And you have a sale.
There you
Does
go.
that make sense?
Absolutely. It just resonates. And, building relationships along the way. And, building relationships with city government agencies,
Yes.
right? They're not easy to do,
Yeah.
but I think to your point, the fact that you're showing up, the fact that you're there, and really being bold about the fact that when you're in that setting, you want to do business with them. In that particular setting.
Correct.
And I think that, being vigilant of what RFPs are there. I mean, like you said, that could be a whole nother segment. how to become certified, what to do after you're certified.
Mhm.
There's a lot to be said there, but definitely I will say that there's a lot of resources out there available to business owners, to small business owners, free of charge, that that can be very helpful along the way.
No, for sure. No, I love that, Nancy. That's powerful. And I was going to ask you. So I want to pivot to a bit, kind of a pivot, but you can help me. We'll figure this out together
Yeah.
because I want to get to something really else. So
Uh-huh.
I'm weaving a needle here. So I know you all have moved to or added detailing, which is for those who don't know, I didn't know what it meant at first. Making my car look brand new, as it were. That's the essence of it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And what's beautiful, yeah, go ahead.
No, okay. I was going to say is that I'm curious, not so much how that's going now, unless you want to talk about it.
Mhm.
But what I'm trying to get at, Nancy, I know you can help me unpack the questions I ask. I'm the host, right? I don't even know how to ask the questions right. But what I'm trying to get to is that where do you see the future going? Do you see that DH2 has two companies? Is this temporary? Because Ramon, we know we're going to start flying and moving again while that part of our business, I'm guessing, is
Mhm.
down like anybody in the travel business. So that's really what I want to get at for those listening. Is the pivot many are making, no, Ramon, we're becoming a detailing company, or is it no? We know by March, revenue is going to go back up and we'll stop detailing. If you can understand what I'm trying to get to.
Absolutely. I am with you because I'll share with you the story behind it,
Okay.
which is goes right back to your question.
Okay.
When this whole pandemic hit and our core business, which is transportation services,
Mhm.
came to a complete halt.
Right.
Complete halt, right? We went from X amount of rides to zero rides,
Mm,
right? Trying to figure that out. How am I going to lead my company when
yes.
I have no rides on the board? When travel has declined and going through that whole process. So once we started working through that all, we started thinking and said to ourselves, well, what else can
Mm,
we do to generate revenue? What else is out there? And it wasn't a partner conversation, it was a husband and wife conversation in our living room with a glass of wine saying, what are we going to do?
mm.
How are we going to make this work? And all of a sudden, something just, kind of popped in our mind. And we're like, oh my gosh, well, we do detailing to our own fleet. Why don't we bring that out to the general audience? And it was like, we never thought about that before. And my husband's like, well, listen, we've been doing that for 25 years. Like we have everything that it takes to do so. Let's just make it happen. So to your point, it was a low hanging fruit, short solution, right? Revenue for the time being.
Yep.
And very organically, we started realizing it went from friends and family to neighbors, to where it's at today, where, we have fleets, commercial fleets, right? And so never intended for that to be that way. But it happened very organically. And where we started in the summer, where it was just going to be an extension of our services,
Mhm.
is now being structured to a business
Wow.
standalone because we do value that there is a business there. And we can do it on the retail side. We can come to your home and get your vehicle cleaned, washed, and or detail, spray wax.
Yeah.
We do it all, to going to a fleet of vehicles or towing truck or an electrical company or a plumbing company, or anyone that has a fleet of vehicles, to then go to them, to their lot or their warehouse, and maintain their vehicles in that way. So it's interesting how we evolved in that business, where it started from just sort of maybe even a survival
Mhm.
mode,
Mhm.
to, hey, we have a business here. Let's take this to another level.
Well, that is I think that is absolutely powerful, Nancy. And I think that to your point, and so do you see again that nobody can know, but do you see that possibly or for sure that the industry is going to come back? I know it's a big question, nobody knows, but
For
do you,
transportation,
yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
it will come back. I believe that, right now we're in a very awkward space
Sure.
in hospitality as a whole.
Yeah.
Transportation, airline, hotels, group
Cruises.
events, cruises.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden has to open up. Yankee Stadium has to open up. City Field has to like it has to open up.
Yeah.
Broadway needs to come back.
Yeah.
So I see my business and my industry kind of like that as well.
Got it.
Yes, it's at a complete halt today. There is some not complete halt.
I
There
understand.
is some movement, but nowhere where we were
Sure.
pre-COVID. But just as I believe with my entire soul that Broadway will be back, that airlines will be traveling again, that people will have to travel again, that the world will be different. It
Yeah.
is different
For sure.
already,
For sure.
but that my service will be needed. And it's going to be a slow comeback, but
Yep.
there will be a comeback, and we will be here along the way to service our clients when they need us.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think, Nancy, for me, what I'm hearing this is that I think one thing about COVID and the new normal, some people don't like keep saying it, pivot, but I think this is a fact. It is new
Yes.
normal. And I think that from what I'm hearing about this is that I think is that everybody should be looking what, for example, Amazon was
Mhm.
selling everything that Amazon's selling, and then one day it wasn't quite like that. Oh, we have billions of extra server storage. Let's sell that. It's $1 billion business.
Yeah,
You all, we already have to detail our cars and make them perfect for the next ride. We can do
exactly.
it for others. So what I'm seeing in every small business listening to us,
Mhm.
COVID came and,
Yeah.
and it's forcing us to think, but let's keep thinking every year, every quarter,
Yes.
we're already doing X for
Mhm.
ourselves or internally. Can this be a revenue driver? And I'm sure there's details, who's going to do it, the process, the flow. But I
Right.
think that's what everybody should think about, Nancy.
Absolutely. And as entrepreneurs, we're risk takers. We are creative. And one of the things that we have learned during the pandemic, our own way of learning
Sure.
is that we can't have just one stream of
Mm,
revenue. To
mhm.
your point earlier, having this mobile detailing service will now be another stream of revenue.
Right.
And I think that, business owners need to understand that, it is important to look at different streams of revenue, because if one business is not doing so great or you didn't have a great month, you have another business that's there kind of helping out as well. And I think that that's been the biggest lesson that I've learned is that, okay, transportation is my core business, is what we've been doing for 25 years. But you know what? Not a bad thing to have another stream of revenue as well. So I'm really excited about that.
No, for sure. Nancy, listen, I could talk to you, I think, for the next many, many, many hours about business and more, but this has been a great conversation. I think we've learned so much about, I think, giving, community building. I think that's one thing we covered, which is great. Great to hear your story, how you and your husband have joined together to start your company and how the shift of roles was so beautiful and how that happened. I think we've learned about the pivot,
Yes.
pivoting or evolving or changing from, hey, what can we offer, doing something else. So I think those are three core big pillars I've learned today from Nancy Vargas with the DH2. Nancy, where can people find out about you? Whether you have a personal page, maybe it's DH2, maybe you're detailing, maybe LinkedIn. I don't know. What would you like people who are listening to say, hey, either A, I want to hire them, or I just want to chat with Nancy? What's your best way to connect with you?
Absolutely. So, two ways. One, I always invite anyone that wants to learn a little bit more about DH2 to simply visit us at www.dh2limo.com.
Okay.
Great way to get all of our information. If you want to reach me directly, Nancy at dh2limo.com. Reach me directly. That's a good way to do it. LinkedIn, another great opportunity as well. But honestly, email, it is the best way to reach me. You know that anytime you email me, you're going to get an email back. So that is the best way. And then, of course, they can always call our office at 718-928-9966.
I love it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ramon Ray with Smart Hustle Media at smarthustle.com. We've been talking to Nancy Vargas of DH2 Limo, and you heard her information before. I've been inspired, and that's what we try to do at Smart Hustle. If you're listening to the sound of my voice or watching this video, please give us a subscribe, give us an uptick, give us a remark, give us a comment. Something you didn't like, tell me quietly. Share this with friends or family, but we're here to serve you. And again, you can check out all things Smart Hustle at smarthustle.com or ramonray.com. Thanks.